So last week we scraped the bottom of the barrel to find the three best episodes of the Resurrection F or the Revival of Frieza arc in Dragon Ball Super. This week we're gonna really look at what I think most folks identify with this arc in, and that's the bad, because it was not a very good adaptation. As we look at we give you our opinion on the three worst episodes of the Resurrection of Frieza arc in Dragon Ball Super. Let's go.
Lord Frieza demands that you subscribe to this channel and follow Mr. Geekdom on these social media platforms.
Like I said last week, Dimsy, man, they had an opportunity to really capitalize and add more story, more layers, and they tried to with very, very mixed results. I would say mostly negative results when they went to adapt the Resurrection F story into Dragon Ball Super. But in this video, we're going to talk about the three worst episodes of the Revival of F arc. And honestly, they might be some of the three worst episodes in all of Dragon Ball Super.
Exactly.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's just a big disappointment. So, what is your number three worst episode of the Revival of F adaptation, Dragon Ball Super?
So yeah, as you said, we were scraping the barrel to find the best ones, but it's just as difficult because there's so many bad episodes. It's hard to pick just three. So episode 20, A Warning from Jacko, Frieza and 1,000 soldiers are fast approaching was my third worst episode. It was an exposition episode. It was very evident that they're stretching things out, and okay, I hate the notion that it's just 1,000 soldiers. Are you telling me that the Emperor of the universe, Emperor, he only has 1,000 soldiers left? Surely it's like a cult following. He should have at least 10k.
And they could have at least, Dimsy, they could have at least explained that maybe the Galactic Patrol was starting to beat some of their soldiers, arrest them.
Yeah.
They could have explained. There's so many things they left out that could have easily made this arc better, including Frieza's training. 2 seconds of a clip of him and Tagoma, and that's it. Like, this arc was such a disappointment with so many great ideas that a lot of the community had, and they didn't capitalize on them. They changed stuff for the worst in many cases, man.
And they try to add these layers, and you're thinking, okay, if you're going to change this scene there, why not change this scene here, which is far more significant, and it really does need the change. And the comedy, I'm sorry, Jacko is a very funny character, but this episode really just didn't work for me. I hated it. Bulma and Jacko just interacting. It felt long, it felt stretched out, and you know what? The despair was just beginning. It really was. Yeah, the despair was beginning.
The despair was beginning. And that was the tagline of the movie, kind of, that the wish they're going to create despair. Yeah, my number three is episode 20. Warning from Jocko, Frieza, 1,000 soldiers. Oh, here we go.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. Yeah, it's just, look, they changed it from, in the film, the Jocko stuff being like with Dr. Briefs to Goten and Trunks. Goten and Trunks are kind of annoying characters, but I guess they felt that in order to make a change from the film, they had to put them in because people were wondering why weren't they in the film. Still no Yamcha. The episode just came off really just like, again, they didn't add anything to it. It was boring to me. It was annoying to me. It was just, and then like they also had 2 time skips in the episode. They literally had 2 time skips in this episode and didn't even tell us when they were. Like, it was a complete mess. Like, this episode is what really, when I watched this episode, the reason it's number 3 on my list is because that's when it really, really hit me. Like, when it really sunk in that, this arc is not going to be that good. Like, I have a feeling, I was already thinking to myself, this is not going in the right, going the right way.
And just remember, a few episodes before that, in episode 18, we were so hyped. The hype was real. And then we get this trash. But what
Bad.
Can you do, eh?
What is your number 2?
So that's going to be episode 26. Amidst the crisis, a shot at victory appears. Son Goku's counterattack begins. And like how it was the beginning of despair for the arc, this was the point where, okay, they're doing a warm-up fight, and it seems like all the major changes for the arc, whether it be Tagoma having a different role, they've come and gone. Now they're just gonna fight, and it's just not going to be an effective fight. It was a terrible fight sequence, and when the viewer is waiting for the arc to end so badly, as I was waiting for it to end so badly on the penultimate episode, that says a lot about this arc. How bad is this going to be?
We got dragged through the mud for how many episodes? Right?
Too many. too many episodes. Now, although they changed the whole Goku being shot through the chest and they made him go to his base, it still wasn't enough to. It wasn't enough to justify that. Okay, this was a really weird fight. The pacing was horrible. It just didn't work. Let's just move on. It's a horrible, horrible arc. Let's finish this.
Yeah, I will add this to it. It was going to be very difficult for them to surpass the movie version because the movie had better animation, better budget, and it was directed by Tadayoshi Yamamura, who's very good at doing fight scenes.
Yeah.
So to top the movie fight, and the movie fight is kind of polarizing. I've seen some fans love it, some fans think it's too long. They had no chance. So I felt that with the Dragon Ball Super version of the story, they could have just added more story elements and better plots and, just made the story better. The fight didn't really have to hold up for me because it wasn't going to be this epic like the fight with Frieza and Goku on Namek. It wasn't going to compare to that. And I just felt that like you did, where I'm watching this fight and I'm like, listen, I know it's not going to be as good as the movie. Nothing
Yeah.
will make it as good as the movie. So let's just be done with it. And it was just
Yeah.
boring. There were some weird animation moments here and there. There was some weird off-model stuff too. Like I remember Tagoma's arms are like really skinny for some reason in a couple scenes.
This arc was riddled with bad art and bad
Yeah,
modeling.
this is the dark times for Super, bro.
I made a quick mistake when I said, "Oh, this was the warm-up fight." It wasn't the warm-up fight. This was the slugfest when Goku was Super Saiyan Blue and we had Golden Frieza. But it felt long, it felt drawn out, and the pacing was just absolutely horrible. Yeah, so that's just a little correction I want to make because it's gonna be important for my next pick.
Yeah, and actually, my next pick is the warm-up fight, episode 24, Clash, Frieza versus Son Goku. This is the fruit of my training. The reason why I hate this episode so much is because it's pretty much known as having the worst animation in the series, even worse than Dragon Ball Super episode 5. It just looked horrible. It was just embarrassing, and I had reported during this time that a lot of the Toei animators, because Resurrection F was so new, because the movie had just been out just a few months before this, a lot of them didn't want to work on this again, so they just kind of went away and just kind of did their own thing with other projects in Dragon, in Toei, like One Piece and whatnot. So
Yeah.
this was just a disaster. It just looked horrible. It was boring. There was a few cool things they tried to do with Frieza, but just without that great animation and budget, it just looked like complete horseshit. And to me, it's an embarrassment for Toei, this episode, even more than episode 5. I did not like it at all.
And spoiler alert, this is my worst episode. This is my worst pick. Yes, although we saw Super Saiyan Blue in this episode, the viewers pretty much realized that, okay, this is where it's gonna go very, very downhill. And it really did. They tried to pretty much reset all the changes by having Goku and Frieza fight once more. You know, when Frieza powered up and he killed off all his soldiers and whatnot. It's just the changes that they tried to implement throughout the arc was so ineffective, and it was just like, as I said in the last video.
Yeah, let me add to what you're saying. I just felt like if they were going to make the story better, they should have filled in the holes of that second act. The movie did not have a second act. It went from training to, Frieza comes back, there's training, and then we have a fight. There's no second act at all.
Yeah.
And I felt with the arc, they could have thrown in, like, more of Frieza's training, more of the characters kind of developing, more of Jocko, more of that stuff, or maybe even a separate plot thread altogether. They didn't do it. They just had those 2 time skips in the previous episode 22 that I mentioned earlier, or not 22, 20 that I mentioned earlier. And it just was just like, it was half-assed. It was half-assed, and some of the changes were better. Like you said, Goku going in his base getting shot, I thought was better. Obviously, the first 4 episodes of the arc, the extra filler stuff, I thought was way better. This is when the filler's better than the canon stuff, even though I think that's actually, I'm not going to go into canon right now, but I think it's better. I agree with you, bro. Like, the changes just weren't enough. There was too many dropped opportunities here.
And to add on your point, there was no second act. Now, if you're gonna take away a second act and increase the amount of episodes and drag things out, you have a recipe for disaster right there. And what a way to start off the fighting, to start off with a horrible animated, sloppy, tensionless, boring fight. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I really want this. I want to see Champa again. I want to see Vados again. Did we even know her name at the time? I don't think we did. But I just wanted this to be over and done with. This was a horrible, horrible arc, arguably one of the worst in all Dragon Ball.
Yes, I think they revealed her name during They revealed her name shortly before this, I think. I think it was shortly
Okay.
before this. It might have been after. I don't remember. You're right, because they kept her name a secret for a while. Yes, it was just bad. Now, my number one might be the worst episode of the entire series. I don't know if it is, because the Potafu stuff was really bad. But other than that, this is my worst episode. This episode is so bad that I actually did a review and I did another video covering this episode because people were attacking me for my opinion. Episode 22, Change, an impossible revival of the name's Ginyu. Okay, the idea of bringing Ginyu back is a fun throwback to Dragon Ball. The execution was literally the worst. I freaking hate this episode so much. There's literally 4 plot holes in this episode in the first 15 minutes. Gotenk shows up, flies in out of nowhere, and defuses in like a minute with no explanation at all. They do a stupid comedy scene with a headbutt. Then Captain Ginyu reads, like, somebody can, now all of a sudden we know that Tagoma or whoever can read and say change, and Ginyu can take their body. That's brand new. We've never known of Ginyu being able to do the body change without actually him saying change. Like, it's stupid. How does that make any sense? It was so freaking dumb. And then, how the hell did Ginyu adapt to Tagoma's body and be able to take on these, post-Buu Saga Z fighters and kick their ass when in the fucking Namek arc, he couldn't even adapt to Goku's body when he was way weaker? I freaking hate this episode, and I was pissed off at the fan base back then because they came at me when I was pointing out how much shit it was, and I'm still mad about it. The episode sucks. It created plot holes. It wasn't part of Toriyama's original idea at all. This was that old geezer at Toei, whatever his name is, making changes for no reason. And then they killed off Piccolo for no reason except to have Gohan cry about it and lead to him wanting to get, training again, which led to nothing anyways. This whole episode is garbage. Just garbage.
All it was a failed attempt to use the nostalgia and a bait and switch, and it just didn't work. Now, I like the way Frieza tortured Gohan, yes, but before, and I do like Ginyu, but the plot holes really did, okay, no, I can't say really, it completely destroyed the episode, and it was this episode actually which made me think, you know what, man, there's no point of me even thinking about power scaling or whatever, because Super's not going to give a crap about this anymore, and this was the most evident episode with Ginyu being able to he's able to pull out more power from Tagoma's body than Tagoma could. What the hell?
It makes no sense. It literally, it was just poor, very poor writing. They didn't think it through. I despise this episode so much. And I know some folks aren't going to agree with me. Some folks are going to hate other episodes more. But this episode, the thing about me is, the animation can always be fixed for the Blu-rays, but the story can't. And that's the issue, is that I hate this episode so much, bro. It's like they promised us so many cool ideas, and they took a shit in the punch bowl, Dimsy.
And that shit was
smelly.
Very smelly, and that's exactly what this arc was. This arc was a failed attempt. And you know what? Don't even watch just the movie. Watch AJ's supercut of this arc, because this is horrible. Don't watch the episodes.
You could literally watch, episodes 15 through 18, and then watch the movie, and you got everything. Or you could watch AJ's cut, like you said, but you could literally do that and then watch the movie and then skip to episode 28.
That says a lot. Skipping all these episodes. Look,
it's just pointless, man. And it wasn't even because the movie was new. I mean, that's part of it. It was just they didn't do anything to make it better. Nothing. They did nothing to make it better.
The lethargic nature of all the animators or the people who are working in Toei was so evident. You can see that they're not bothered. They just want to move on. And that does stem from the movie coming out so recently. But it doesn't excuse this arc for being so bad when they had the opportunity to make it so great.
That's right. So everybody check out Dimsy's domain. I'm going to put a link down below. And I'm wiping the stench off of that episode off of me, because next week, folks, we're going to give you the 3 best Universe 6, Universe 7, Universal Tournament. It's really called the God of Destruction Champa arc. We're going to give you the 3 best episodes from that arc, and there actually is a lot of good stuff there, so we got stuff to talk about.